This week on Rockstar Superhero.
Voices keep calling me from distant sea, whispering melody that should be
Guitarist and songwriter Andreas Ballnus has been working on a new project called Philosophobia for 15 years. Yes, I said that right. 15 years. Now, in between gigs with various world-class musicians around Europe, Andreas and a few other superstar musicians wrote, recorded, and ultimately re-recorded the new self-titled album, due out on June 24th. If you're listening to this show, the first thing you need to do afterwards is go out and buy this wonderful progressive metal masterpiece. It's easy to use hyperbole like masterpiece or must own, but I assure you I'm speaking the truth. You gotta pick up the new album today because it's incredible. So listen to my interview with one of the coolest people in my life, the inimitable Andreas Ballnus, the guitarist of Philosophobia, because this, my friends, is Rockstar Superhero.
unchained insanity, broad
It's a great honor to meet you, and I am thrilled beyond belief because you're one of those European superheroes I've wanted to talk to for a bit of time, and then I found out about Philosophobia, and I'm like, uh-oh, it's time. It's time to make that happen. So thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's an honor for me too.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. You started the band with your buddy Alex back in the mid-2000s, if I read that all correctly. But it wasn't until about 2 years ago that you finally got it all together. And, of course, I've read up on you. I know the stuff that happens between the lines, but the listening audience may not necessarily understand your life story. So why did you start the band so long ago and then didn't do anything until the last 2 years?
That's still is really strange to me too, to say the least. I mean, it's like we started in 2007, or basically I started to write songs and get the idea for the lyrics. Yeah. And then, of course, Alex was the first who came to my mind to realize all the songs. Mm-hmm. And we headed to the studio. Alex had a good friend, Tobias, who's the keyboard player. So we brought him to the studio. We recorded all that stuff. I played main tracks of the bass back then for the demos. And I was looking for a singer. And a friend of mine said, well, you got to listen to that guy from Wastefall, Greek prog metal band, Dominic. And I listened to it and I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah. So I just wrote him an email, sent him some of the rough demos, and he said, that sounds great, I'm coming.
Wow.
So he flew over and recorded 8 songs on the original recordings. There were 2 songs that are not on the album now. They were replaced by 2 other ones. Mm-hmm. And that was it. He flew back to Greece, and 3 weeks later he called me and said, dude, I liked it so much in Germany. I want to emigrate to Germany. So wow. Can I live a couple of weeks at your place? And I said, sure, you can just come over. So he's ended up spending 3 or 4 months at my place until he found his own apartment. And for some reasons, and I cannot really say which reasons these were, we never finished the demos. It was like Alex joined Annihilator as their tour drummer. I was on tour with Paul Diano and Personal War and my bands. So it never really happened for some strange reasons. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, you had all that weight behind you. I mean, if you think about it, here you were with Paul Diano, who was for those who don't know, was the original lead singer of Iron Maiden. And, I would imagine if you're an up and coming musician and you're playing with this, sort of, quasi superstar, if you will, it would be really hard to say, I'm going to leave that and go do my own thing, Yeah,
of course, I wouldn't want to leave the Paul Diano band at that time, because, the other guys, the drummers, the bass player, the other guitar player, were all really close friends. And so I always say if you have a band and you go on tour, it has to feel a little bit like a class trip. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, it's just work. So that was the main reason. That it was a lot of fun with these guys. It was also fun with Paul. I mean, he's a little bit older. He gets to bed a little bit earlier than we did back in the days. So I had a little bit more contact with the other guys, but it was an awesome time.
Yeah.
And then we started writing songs with Paul under the name of Architects of Chaos and released 2 albums. So there was another thing when there was no time for Philosophobia, because from the very beginning I was sure if I do it 100% and not as a side project or something.
Sure.
I would imagine, though, yeah, there's so much going on. I mean, the nature of a musician. I mean, look, you're a busy guy. You've been a busy guy from ground zero because that's who we are, right? I'm a former musician, just so you know. So, I mean, I understand kind of what it feels like to be you. And I know that there's just no way we can't just turn it off. It's in our blood. It's in our DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that was finally the reason why we finished Philosophobia. I was always in contact with Christopher, the Gildenlöw, the bass player, and we were talking about the Philosophobia demos because he was supposed to guest on the demos just for 1 or 2 tracks. And I said, I don't know why, but we never finished it. And he said, what? And asked me to send over the demos again, and I sent it to him, and then he said, okay, if we do it, I'm in as a full band member, and we do it now. Yeah. And I said, yeah, well, that's really good. We do it.
Yeah. Well, yes, but it's so interesting because I was thinking about on you, to understand a little bit more about you than what I knew prior. This is for all intents and purposes, technically a super group, right? You have all these coming from all of these sort of bigger names, these other bands, Creator and whatnot. And I think there's a weird energy. I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling here, but there's a sort of an expectation amongst yourselves that, wow, we better do this right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Of course, I mean, for me, it's a little bit different point of view because, when we started, Alex had not joined Annihilator, and I had just started to tour with Paul, and Christopher just got out of Pain of Salvation and was not involved into anything musically. So for us, in our opinion, we were, a band of unknown musicians.
Sure.
Meanwhile, it has changed, of course, and I mean, there was. When we asked Damien Wilson to have some guest vocals on the record, which he has on I Am. Yeah. Damien is also a friend of mine for years now because we were touring together. He with Maiden United, the acoustic Iron Maiden stuff. And I toured with Paul. So we played a couple of festivals together. So we got along really well with each other. And we were just chatting via Messenger one night, and he said, hey, I'm in the studio in England right now recording some Arion stuff. And I said, yeah, I'm in the studio in Saarbrücken recording Philosophobia stuff. And he said, so we're both in the studio. Why don't we do something together?
Yeah.
And then he recorded the vocals and sent over 8 tracks, and they were all absolutely fantastic. In the back of my mind, I originally, I don't want somebody to guest on the album because that would be something like another name dropping. And I really did not want that, but his vocal tracks were so fantastic, I had to say yes.
Yeah. It's so interesting, too, how it works. People on the outside of the business, I think I say this every show, so so bear with me. But people on the outside of the business look at people like yourself and they say, oh, that guy's a celebrity. He's famous. So, of course, he has famous friends. That's how they see it. And as you mentioned, yeah, but we knew each other for forever. And, I was talking to Doogie White from Alcatraz last year. And, he's like hanging out with Richie Blackmore and Bruce Dickinson at a pub. You know what I mean? They're just his buddies. And it's just proof that once you're in the business, if you will, even not necessarily the big time, but just there and available, that music business is very small, very insulated because you and those people are the only people who understand what it's like. Yeah. Nobody else gets it. They think it's something big and sexy and grand, and it's not. It's a lot of hard work.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get asked that a lot of times, or when I was on tour with Paul, people ask me that a lot of times. But the job that I had, being the guitar player for Paul, there were like 1,000 people that wanted to have the job. So if I did not deliver each night and every night, I would not have the job for a long time. So it's not like you party all night, and you can't. You have to get your sleep, otherwise you won't be playing well the next evening. So it's not that glamorous. And you're right, it's very small. Like I said, I got to know Damien because we play the same festivals. So we're just met each other, and then we talked a little bit, and it just evolved naturally. Like you make friends with somebody you meet at work, or so it's not that glamorous. It's just people you meet on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's really true. And the funny thing about I keep putting quotes around it, but the term rock star is kind of a silly one as well, because the reality is you're talented, you're gifted, and you're driven, and you realize that what it takes to get to sort of stand out is to get on that stage and to put it on, to put on the talent, to put on the look, to put on the show. Because as you mentioned, there's 1,000 other guys that want that gig, and you have to be willing to do all those things. And I remember coming home from a show about 20 years ago, and it was 4 a.m, and my wife, met me at the front door, and she said, how did it go? And I told her, and I was just spent. I was just exhausted. And people don't realize that unless you're, in the Rolling Stones or U2, you're doing all the technical stuff. You're packing your gear, you're taking it out to the van, you're your own roadie most of the time, maybe not all the time, but most of the time. And then you have to log in the fact that, if you're a good band like you were with Paul Di'Anno, and of course now with Philosophobia, there's a tremendous amount of time spent learning, practicing, rehearsing the songs, making sure you're good with your instrument, keeping yourself healthy. There's so much mental work that you get more exhausted in your brain than I think you do physically.
Of course, and one of the biggest things is waiting time. I mean,
it's the worst.
I summed it up. All the gigs I played with Paul. Yeah. There was a period of 2 years in my life. I spent my time in hotel rooms and at venues waiting for the gig. Mm-hmm. 2 years. I mean, other people build houses and build a family in 2 years. So yeah, it's not that glamorous. It's mostly waiting and 2 hours of fun in the evening when you're on stage. Yeah. That's basically it. Yeah, it's also fun to meet the people afterwards. And sure, because I'm just a regular metalhead, and I like to talk metal with people. And that's a fun time. But the other, let's say, 12 hours a day is just waiting. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh geez. Yeah. You basically, if you were in the band 200, like say 2 years, you probably did 225 shows, and so that means you're roughly say 300 hours in 2 years that you're actually having fun. Yeah, exactly. And you get to play music in front of people, and you get to hang out at festivals, and you get people to think you're something you're not, which is kind of fun and kind of cool. Yeah. But yeah, it's just not as glamorous as everybody thinks. Absolutely not. No. So what I want to say is, if I put all days together, it's like I played about 800 gigs with Paul. So those are the 2 years. Wow. Of course, it was a time stretch of 14 years, but all the things put in one place, it's 2 years in a row. And I mean, wow. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not 2 years with Paul, but yeah. Because you were with him a long time. So if I may, I don't want to get too personal here. You could just tell me you don't want to, but why did the thing stop with Paul? Did he just kind of retire? Because I know he's still alive. He's still alive, and he did not really retire. The thing was, the last tour we did with him was in, I don't know, it was 2017 or
Okay.
16. Yeah.
Yeah.
By that time, he was sitting in a wheelchair the entire show. And many things that came with it physically. And we were always, he had our backs, and we said, no problem, we can't do that, but we have to do some things differently. For example, we need someone who's taking care of you, because there were, I'm not telling a secret, there were situations when we found him on the floor of his hotel room and he couldn't stand up anymore. So he was lying there the whole night. And we said, we need somebody who takes care of you.
Yeah.
And he didn't want that. I understand that he didn't want that, but maybe we were too proud or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
So then we told him, you need to get surgery for your knees. And he said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And he said, okay, I went to the doctors. I got an appointment for this date and surgery on this date and all that stuff. And we said, okay, no problem. We're waiting for you.
Yeah.
And then 1.5 years later, he was like postponing it always. He got a sepsis and whatever he can't do. And we called our manager, Lee Hart, and he said, no, he never went to the doctor. No
Good
doctor would have a surgery on these knees if he wouldn't lose 40 kilograms before. No doctor would do that. And we were just asking him, is that true? He said, no, Lee is a liar, whatever. So he was not honest to us. And
too bad.
During these conversations, he said like 300 times, if it's so hard with me, just quit. And for the 301st time when he said it, we said, okay. And that was basically it.
Wow. Yeah,
and
he
started the shitstorm on social media. Like, we threw him out of the band.
Oh, good
the poor
God.
old sick person, and we couldn't say anything.
Yeah. I'm so glad you told this story, and not to, nail Paul down into the ground. But,
No.
But it's funny. Now that you're saying this, I do remember Paul being in a wheelchair now. I don't know why I kind of forgot that, but I remember thinking like, okay, does he have like, pancreatitis? Does he, and I'm not tracking him all the time. Wasn't necessarily listening to all of his stuff. So yeah, that's the nature though, right? It's not the artist thing as much as it is the human nature and the need to be seen as something you're not, to be more effective and more together than you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let me get this straight. I still like Paul.
Of course.
We're getting along really well. And I mean, we've been on tour for 14 years. So it's, you just cannot throw that away. We're still friends. And
Good.
I'm also a cover artist, artwork artist, and made the latest artwork for his last records, the live records. So,
okay.
We're still in contact. We're still friends.
That's good.
It just did not work out as bandmates anymore. So
yeah, I understand that, and it's best to separate if that's the case anyway. So I completely understand that. It's hard to be a human being sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's doing good now. He's in Croatia getting the surgeries for his knees.
Good.
Definitely good. And I heard that Iron Maiden is paying the costs for the surgeries.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So I mean, he just turned 70, which is really mind blowing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he's good now. He's got a new band called Warhorse. Just released a 3-track EP. I mean, that's fine. So we're just going separate ways, but that's fine for us.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate you sharing the Paul thing. I don't want to stick on that mostly because you're my guest today, and I appreciate that. But something I love to talk about is the formation of the artist and the idea that when we're created in our mother's womb, that we get this DNA downloaded into us, and it's like most of us are not artists, which is probably good for the world because we're all crazy.
Yeah.
But what's your take on the idea that being an artist is a very significant blessing, because I think it is, and an incredible curse because you really can't take it out of yourself. You can't undo it. What's your feelings on being an artist, especially you in the public eye?
It's exactly what you're saying. On the one hand, it's a blessing, and I love what I'm doing. You know, right here in my little home studio. I just love going here. You know, let the creativity flow, come out with new ideas. I constantly write music. Sometimes when I'm in the mood to write some synthwave stuff, I'm writing some synthwave stuff on my keyboard. So when I'm in the mood for metal, I just do that. So that really is a blessing. On the other hand, it also can be a pain in the ass, money-wise.
Yeah,
because
that's the big one.
There's always something you need, because it's really different from the thing that you have, which is 90% the same.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, that's it. I mean, it's also for you know, when I meet old buddies from my class when I was 17 or 18, and they're like, so I read on the internet you're doing this and you're doing that in the last years, and I just want to have your life for one day. And I said, you think my life is so great? How many kids do you have? And he goes like, yeah, 3. So you built a house? Yes, I do. And you got a really good, well-paid job? Yes, I do. So why you want to change with me?
Yeah. Don't you understand? I live in my car. I know you don't, but you know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It's a crazy, crazy life, and the sacrifices. Oh gosh, who was I talking to? Ross Valerie, from Journey.
Yeah.
And Ross was being asked about family life. You know, it was a group of people he was sitting and talking with, and asking about family life. And he said, and basically said the same thing. He said, you know, I understand that being Journey is an incredible thing, that very few people get to be in a band of this significance at this level and to make the kind of money, all the things that I've been fortunate to experience. I think that's awesome. He said, but you know, there's not one thing about my life that anybody would wish they had if they could trade places with me, because I don't have a wife, I don't have kids, I don't have family structure, I don't have anybody to go home to. The band is everything, and it has been, and it's a choice I made, but I would love to switch with somebody if they would be willing to do it, you know? And I was like, yep, there it is. And one of the biggest, you know, most famous bass players in the world doesn't wishes he knew what it was like on the other side too. We all wish we were somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, we can keep it short, but I would love to know a little bit about your early years before we get to the album. Tell me a little bit about, you know, little Andreas, you know, where'd you grow up? You know, why did you take on the guitar? You know, you mentioned the bass earlier. What were the catalysts that got you into music in general?
First of all, I grew up in the town of Leverkusen, which is really close to Cologne. Leverkusen is only known for maybe the Bayer company who invented aspirin. That basically is Leverkusen. Yeah. There was a huge factory, 160,000 people living there, and I think 70,000 are working for that company. So
wow,
that's really
a lot of aspirin.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up there, so had a really nice childhood. And when I was like 10 years old, my parents wanted us to play an instrument, and I chose keyboards. Did that for 4 months and totally lost interest. It just wasn't my kind of instrument back in these days. And it was until 13 when I thought, okay, I could learn guitar, because it was a solo of Europe's Final Countdown that we listened to in school. And I was like, wow, I want to do that. Wow. And went to my parents. My parents said, so, I mean, we had that fiasco with the keyboard. So if you want to learn guitar, go and earn yourself a guitar. So I was, delivering papers, like newspapers.
Yeah.
And I earned my first $100 roundabout and bought a used guitar from a friend of my father. And that was basically the start. So I just was at home listening to records and trying to figure out how they played it. Then I had a guitar teacher for about a year and was the opinion that, okay, you showed me everything. I just have to learn it now. So I was like 8 hours a day. I was practicing guitar in the beginning and for a month and for years. And then I reached a level where I thought, okay, I could work with it. With this now, formed the first band, which was a hardcore band with the funny name of Hippopotamus Avalanche.
Oh my God! I gotta name the show Hippopotamus Avalanche. That's a fantastic name because it's so absurd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God, I gotta write that down. I don't want to forget. So anyway, please keep talking about Hippopotamus Avalanche. I want to know more.
Yeah, it was a hardcore band with songs not longer than 2 minutes, and the first demo tape was, I don't know, we had 28 songs on it. Each was between a minute and 2 minutes.
Wow.
The funny thing is, a couple of years later, when we were, just a local band playing from Cologne, Düsseldorf, everything in the surrounding of Liverpool, and we suddenly had a message that we went number 2 in Chile, South America, in the bootleg charts. So we not saw a penny for that. It was the bootleg charts. Right. Somebody must have taken a demo, like an exchange trip for students, brought the demo tape to Chile, and it went off. So,
wow. Crazy.
And that was the whole story of Hippopotamus Avalanche. Then I went to study in the south of Germany, and we just quit with the band. The bass player went to the north of Germany. I went to the south of Germany, and just didn't happen. And then I was just studying for a couple of years, and then already the Paul thing started.
Wow!
So there's not so many bands in my history. Just the first one trying out things, and then the big step to Paul. That was basically my musical history.
Yeah. Wow. So that's pretty wild to go from basically a crazy titled hardcore band straight into Paul Di'Anno. That's a pretty weird journey. Do you ever look back at it and consider it just these incredible strokes of, I don't want to call it luck, because luck is about being prepared, right? So you were ready, but I mean, like, this is maybe the part I missed, or maybe you said it and I didn't hear it. I don't actually know how you ended up in Paul's band. I know you knew people, but that's that's how it works anyway, It
was coincidence. Friends of mine had a band called Revision, and they were on tour with Paul in, I think, 2001 as the support band. And by the time we put together the band for Paul was not playing very much. So the drummer from that band, Revision, who was a friend of mine, called the manager and said, why is Paul not playing live shows anymore? And he said, well, basically he doesn't have a band. That's why. So these guys called me and said, okay, we're a bass player, we're a drummer, we're one guitarist, we need a second guitarist. You want to come and rehearse with us, and we see if it fits? And I said, yeah, okay. So I went to their rehearsal room. Wow. We recorded 3 songs. I think it was Rothschild, Prowler, and Murders in the Rue Morgue. Sent it over to Paul. He liked it. And then that's it. That's
there it is.
Story. There it is.
Yeah. And it proves, too, I know you know this, it proves that not only were you prepared for the moment, but you're a nice guy. You can't be a D-bag in the business and get in anywhere. I mean, once you get there, you can be a D-bag and lose your spot in the business, but you have to be kind and open and willing,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good for you, man. That's amazing.
To come back to Hippopotamus Avalanche.
Yeah, please.
What did I want to say? Okay. Yeah. The step from playing hardcore to more technical stuff like Iron Maiden with Paul. I think it was a hardcore band because me and all the others in the band, we were not able to play better music. So we decided just strumming and like punky hardcore stuff, fast songs, because if you play really fast, you can you make a mistake, nobody will hear it. So maybe that was the reason why we started with a hardcore band. Of course, I'm still a fan of the Exploited, and one of my favorite bands is not hardcore at all, but it's Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, for example.
Oh yeah, so good. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm not stuck to one kind of music. I'm very, broad taste of music.
Oh man. So I'm going to say this because, well, I get to say this because I'm the host of the show. You and I are going to be friends, man. because
awesome.
you're just so clearly cool. So when I come to Europe, I'm calling you up because
definitely.
I want to spend some time with you. I could tell you're open to checking all kinds of stuff out, and I think that's really the key, the cornerstone of my own show here. The reason I have all these awesome guests and things that are so wildly divergent is that my taste is eclectic, eccentric, out there, and I'm looking to sort of spread that wealth to the music listener, because you and I both know this, man. There's so much fantastic music that never makes it out of the neighborhood, let alone the country, let alone the continent. There's all these awesome bands in Europe and Australia and Japan and India that never find their way to the shores in the States, and vice versa. So I just think this is fantastic, man. I'm really having a good time.
Yeah, me too.
Good. So let's talk about the new record. It comes out tomorrow. So for listeners of the show, Andreas and I are recording this on June 23rd. The new self-titled record comes out tomorrow on Sensory Records on June 24th. So if you're listening to this, the record is out. So go out and buy it, because I say so, because when you hear that music at the top of the hour, you're going to know how badass it is. It's a killer record. I've heard the whole thing. Freaking love it. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But how does it feel to get this material out? I mean, I know we touched on all these years of distance between when you started it and now releasing it. But does it just feel like, oh, thank God, it's a weight off your shoulder? Or is there this tremendous excitement and ambition to do more because you're finally doing it?
It is a really, really weird feeling, because or to say it like this, now that it's coming out, it's like the weight off the shoulders. Definitely.
Sure.
A couple of weeks ago, it was super weird, because before the first reviews came in, I was absolutely not sure. I mean, I have mainly all of the releases coming from Sensory Records, and I know that Ken has a good taste in music because he's released all those great records. Mm-hmm. So I thought, if he wants to sign us, maybe this is a good album. Because I really wasn't sure anymore. And before the first reviews came out, I was really, I don't know, a little bit frightened. Mm-hmm. Because all the albums I have made with Paul, with Architects of Chaos, with Personal War, and you get not reviews that are not so good, like a 6 out of 10 or something. You still think in the back of your mind, okay, maybe they didn't like the guitar solo from the other guitar player, or they don't like the singer, or whatever. So, but Philosophobia, it's me. I wrote the songs, I wrote the lyrics. If somebody doesn't like it, he doesn't like me.
That's what
I thought.
That's intense. Yeah.
So, but then the first reviews came in with 9 out of 10. We had 10 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. So they're all in the top level, and I was like, okay, let's. Really getting a weight off my shoulders now. Yeah.
It's such a solid record. It's cohesive. It doesn't sound like it was, not that it was recorded, at wildly different times, but I mean, it just sounds like it was done at once. It sounds complete. You can tell. I think it's because you're the, like you mentioned, you're the songwriter. It sounds like one vision. And that has to happen on a record. You can't have, so the greatest part about Queen, right? Let's go to Queen for a second. Yeah. The greatest part about Queen was the wild ambition. The one moment they're doing disco, the next minute they're doing opera, the next minute they're doing metal. Yeah. But that same disparate influence, on uncategorical. Excuse me. You can't categorize kind of what they did. It just was Queen. It was just just Queen. Yeah. What I love about Philosophobia, and obviously your songwriting, is it sounds like one thing. And for a fan, for a listener, and people who like my show, they'll love it because it's very squarely fits right into the pocket of what we do here. So I just can't stop praising it. No question. I just want to say it's just really fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, the songwriting process is progress is I mean, it's just the natural way I'm writing. You know, like I told you earlier, there were 2 different songs on the original demos in 2007, and I replaced them with 2 new ones. One was "Voices Unheard" is a new one.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God.
And "Between the Pines" is a new one. So,
okay.
But I think the same. They sound like as if they have always been there.
Yeah.
As if they were meant to be there.
Yeah. You know what? That's I was talking to my wife about this the other day. It's like children. And I understand this again because I'm a musician, is what you don't have these things and then all of a sudden you have them, right? You birth your children through songs, right? Yeah. And it's like they've been there always. Yeah. You recognize them. It goes back to the DNA thing. You recognize their spirit because they've been inside of you, hiding and waiting to be released. And they're finally out, you know, and yesterday you touched on this. Voices Unheard came out on video. Yeah. And I watched that video and almost like cried. It's musically it's phenomenal. Visually, it's very, very difficult to watch. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about yet, Andreas, why don't you tell us what the video's about and why we're watching what we're watching? Because you're clearly making a message, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to put it. I mean, you said it's shocking and you're about to cry, but this is the reality. And I also chose to put this red and black effect on it, and because it was even more shocking if you see it just full colored pictures. And I didn't want to do that to people because everyone can decide if he wants to dive deeper into the topic of animal abuse, factory farming, and stuff like that. I'm a vegan vegetarian since 6 years now. I don't like to tell people what to eat or what not to.
Right,
everybody
to preach.
Decide. Exactly. I'm not that kind of guy. So everybody can decide for himself. But on the other hand, people should be aware of what they are doing. It was just a couple of days ago when I was at the supermarket and there was an older man standing next to me, and I was picking, the vegetarian stuff from the shelf. And he was like, "Are you experienced with that?" And I said, "Yes, I am eating no meat since six years now." And he said, "I've got to tell you something. Tell me what you like and I will try it. I'm 79 years old now. And my granddaughter just showed me something on the internet. And I really don't want to eat meat anymore." Of course, I knew 79 years long that animals are not treated right and by factory farming, but I did not know that it was so bad. So at the age of 79, he said, "So if I don't start now, when should I do?" So, and that's basically it. I've saved, or me and my wife, we saved 9 sheep from the slaughterhouse. We've got a horse. We got 4 dogs, stray dogs from the streets and everything. We're a little bit crazy regarding that.
Sure. But you're doing your part.
Yeah, I hope so. And that what basically is the video about. There might be some shocking footage and some shocking facts in the middle part where it's written right now. 30% of the whales have something like that. So everybody who watches this can go and just search the internet and make his own picture. I just want people to be aware of how it is. That's all.
Yeah. It's a tough message because we obviously have been conditioned to eat a lot of things, everything from meat to pastries loaded with sugar, and And I was telling my children this the other day. I said, you do realize that unless you grow this in your backyard, and even then it might be hard, but unless you grow this personally and which, pesticides and growth hormones or whatever you've put on your food, there is no such thing as healthy food. Like at a grocery store. I don't care if you go to the vegetable market or if you go, unless you really know, there's always something that's probably there to enhance the flavor or to help it stay fresh on the shelf longer. And so, it's a tough one. And yet, this is me being the devil's advocate for a moment.
Yeah, sure.
And yet, to many people, obviously, meat and sugary products are delicious and they don't want to stop eating them. And then there's the other side that I've heard from science that says, well, if we don't have, we don't have, what do you call it? What's it called when they, where they put hormones in the food so they make more, or they make like chickens aren't supposed to have thighs this big. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be tiny, but everything has been jacked up with hormones. And the argument has been, well, it's for the good of the planet. We've got so many people here. We need to make more food. We need to hormonally enhance all the food so there's more food. And that's a tough one.
It's not true if you put it like that. It's like if you take the soy production in South America, 90% of it goes to factory farming.
Yeah.
And only 10 end up in soy schnitzel or whatever you can buy at the supermarket for vegetarians or for vegans. If you take those 90% that is been put to factory farming for cows or pigs or whatever, and just give it straight to the humans, it would solve all the starving problems in the third world. Really,
right. No, it would. It would. Yeah, I agree.
That's so absurd. And,
it is, but there's not enough. But see, here's the thing, Andreas. It's not sexy enough. They can't make enough money off of it. It works better as feed than it does as sustenance.
Yeah. Exactly, and you're right with one thing. Doesn't matter if it's meat or if it's soy stuff or whatever. Not all of that is really healthy just because it doesn't have meat in it. Yeah. But my personal decision was, okay, both is not healthy for me, but the other one is not healthy for me and for the animal. So I just skip one thing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what I eat; it will not be super healthy. For example, I've got a huge problem with soft drinks. I like Coke, I like Dr. Pepper, and all that stuff. That's
you're talking my language. Look how fat I am.
Yeah. Look what I got here.
I know. I got people don't know this, but I'm holding a mocha, from a coffee shop. I like my sugar, man. It's a tough one. One. I'm addicted too. I admit it. I'm addicted.
Yeah,
I'm pre-diabetic, and I look pretty good. I'm pretty healthy, pretty lean, but I'm still pre-diabetic because I'm an idiot about sugar. It's true. Yeah,
me too. During the last 2 years of the pandemic, I play basketball.
Yeah.
And do that 2 times a week, and then the third day is game. During the pandemic, there was nothing of that. Mm-hmm. But I didn't change my sugar drinking behavior. Right. So I gained about, I think, 6 or 7 kilo in the last 2 years.
I think I did too. Yeah.
Same for me. Yeah.
Oh man. See, now I need to come over to Germany just so we can get together and play music. Because that's the thing about drumming too. I'm a drummer. I didn't say that, but it's actually a low impact workout. And so, drumming, since I was a little boy, I was always super skinny. And as soon as I dropped that off, I kind of left the music business back in the early 2000s. And sure enough, the first thing I started putting on the pounds.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry for taking us off track there, but
no, sure, no problem. I've got time.
Okay. Well, obviously, I'd like to talk more about the record, but I also want to touch one more thing on the vegetarian thing or the meat thing. Really just attributing it to the song "Voices Unheard." Again, for those listening, the video basically shows us in kindly filtered ways the ugliness of factory farming. And I grew up next to a factory farm. My grandparents were horse farmers, so which basically meant they had a pasture and they had animals there and they bred horses there. So they weren't killing them for meat or anything like that. And they loved their horses and they took very good care of them. But right next door were 2 chicken farms. And of course, that's not for anything but the production of eggs and chicken meat. And one, the smell is atrocious. And 2, this is in the 70s when, chickens the size of, I don't know, say like 12 inches by 5 inches wide or whatever, were shoved into crates that were like 14 inches by 6 inches wide. And they were basically, and I don't know if they still are, but I imagine if it's not in, quote unquote, a good, American farm, which we like to believe we're doing good things, which is hilarious because we're not. All these animals are tortured. They just are flat out tortured for as long as they live, and then they're tortured when they die. And so death is probably a really good thing for them because their lives are over. But the thing is people can make fun of me feeling this way, make fun of you feeling this way about animals. But man, when you watch a video of let's say a person's died and their dog goes to their grave every day. We don't understand. We do not understand how that animal feels because we can't read their mind and we can't speak their language. But I would implore people to consider that maybe the animal's language doesn't mean they're dumb. It's just a language you don't understand.
Exactly.
Because they love and they hurt and they ache and they deserve compassion. And people can roll their eyes at that all day long. And yes, I'm a hypocrite. I do eat meat. But maybe it's time I do better too.
Was your decision. So
yeah, but you know what I mean? But maybe it's time. I mean, I would certainly be healthier.
Yeah, but I could be healthier too, and I don't eat meat, so that's not the whole story. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that also is what the song "Voices Unheard" is about, because there's this one line in the lyrics saying, "I adore you endlessly," and that's really fascinating fact about animals for me. I told you that we have got 4 dogs, and one dog is a pit bull, and he was taken away from a drug dealer. He wanted him to become a bad dog and for dog fights and whatever. But it just did not turn bad. It was just not his spirit or his natural behavior. He did everything. He hit him with nail clubs, put electricity around his testicles. He just did not turn bad. But I was there before we took him away from him. He did all that to the dog, but the moment he came into the room, the pit bull was sitting there waving his tail, really happy that his master is coming. And I'm getting goosebumps right now. I mean, this is so much more than we have this forgiveness and still adoring somebody, whatever he does. But this is the guy who's there for me, whatever he does. Maybe I was I did something wrong and he had to beat me or something. They always forgive, and that is so amazing to see. Yeah,
it's almost. I'm a pretty emotional person, so I mean, I can imagine it in my head, right? And it doesn't make me cry, but I mean, it definitely reminds you that, they're just pure. That's the one thing. We talk about humans being more intelligent or better than every other mammal on the planet. You know what I mean? Like, we know more than dogs, and we care more than porpoises, and all these other things. But we also enslave people, and and we kill people. We kill children in schools because we're pissed off at our teachers.
Yeah.
And right, I mean, we're the worst. We're amazing. We're the most capable beings on the planet, and we're the worst caretakers and the worst lovers of the very things we should care about and love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a shame. I mean, we know what we're doing wrong, but we just don't change it.
Well, it's because we don't want to take away the basic fleshly things that we like, right? Sex, food, right? We want to feel good, and we don't care what gets in the way. As long as we get to feel good today, that's I'm right, and I'm smart enough to make it happen.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not that guy. Well, I probably am sometimes, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say to the video, everybody, it has the warning at the beginning, so
it means it too.
Prepared. Yeah, and everybody's prepared. So, but if you watch it and you want to dive deeper into the topic, just go ahead, make your own picture. And if that song brought you to something, I'm really happy. If it doesn't, maybe it's just a good song for you. Just that's it.
Yeah,
that's basically it. Not a preacher or something.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Well, look, before I let you go, I want to ask you maybe 2 more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Cool. I mean, I could stay with you all day, man. This is really cool.
I've got time, no problem.
Well, I mean, I do too, but I don't know, man. That editing process gets really tough once it goes over an hour. What do you enjoy about the songwriting? I mean, so you're a guitarist, you play bass, you started on keyboards. I mean, you understand rhythm, you understand melody, you get all the bits and pieces of the song. Arrangement, by the way, in particular, is my favorite thing. It's my favorite facet of song creation, and the pieces you've written are incredibly well arranged. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. What do you like most about that process? From everything I can tell, like I said, you're very adept at it. What part do you like?
I'm not sure if I can name one particular thing for that. I'm really, really bad. I really suck at music theory. Really,
okay.
I do.
Okay.
So everything that I'm writing is, my feeling of how it feels good. When I had the record sent when they came from the pressing plant, I had a friend over here. We were listening to it, and we were listening to Thorn in Your Pride, and he was like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's a 6/8 followed by a 13/8, followed by a 6/8, and then an 11/8, and then it comes to the 1 again."
That's prog.
And I was like, "Yes, if you say so." Because for me, it was just, the natural melody that was like that. I was not sitting here and thinking it's prog, so I have to do a 6/8 and then the 13/8.
Right.
It's not like that. Just,
right.
It feels right when I'm writing it. By the way, the second album is written and pre-produced, so we're heading to the studio very soon.
Wow!
And that was exactly the same. I mean, it was like I started with the first song, and then suddenly 6 songs were finished, and ended up to be 8 songs again. But one of them is over the 20-minute mark. So
wow,
it's like having 9 or 10 songs on.
Yeah, that's like true prog metal if there ever was, man. You've got to have like the really long, like single side. If it was an LP, takes the whole side. Oh my god!
And also that was not planned. It was like, okay, this is a cool part. Do I make a song of it? No, it really fits to the one that I've already written, and it just became a long song. It was not planned like that.
Is it a suite? You know how like that's a standard. You've got to have like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And it's always about like something fanciful, like a sword fight in like the 14th century or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. No, I'm not. No, it's not. No.
Okay.
Not like that.
So yeah, that was actually the other question. If you're producing new material right now as we speak, because I would imagine with the feeling, the process of things finally taking off, that now you really, really want to jump in, with both feet and just go, 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 go.
Absolutely. I mean, when we started recording, it was May 2020, so that's 2 years ago already. So the recording process took about 1 year, so we were finished by 2021. So I've had 2 years of writing new material now, and like I said, the second album is already written and pre-produced, and there are also like 3 or 4 songs that might end up on the third album. That are already written yet. So we will see. I mean, the second one is set like it is now. Whatever I write from now on is not going to be on the second album because I love it the way it is. And that's basically the plan for the next couple of months to record the second album.
It's so cool, man. Well, this gives me great hope because now it's a chance to be, in a sense, your friend through that process, right? And experience it. I'm not asking for anything, but you know what I mean? I like the idea of knowing that something I like is coming, that there's more of it. That's very exciting because, in this day and age, you've got music, you've got so much content on, say, YouTube. You want to know that the thing you fall in love with is going to be around a while. Oh yeah,
absolutely. I mean, there are two examples. Like the first one is Fate's Warning, one of my favorite bands of all time, and it broke my heart when the last records came out, and everybody was like, "Okay, the last song says they're over now; they're not going to make it anymore." And I was like, "No, that can't be true." And the other one is Dream Theater. I mean, they're like, they're going to drop an album in 2 years, and I'm not a big Dream Theater fan anymore. I was super huge fan until Scenes from a Memory, maybe.
Yep. That was I cut off at Scenes from a Memory. I was like, that's it. 1998, I'm done. I was just, they got too foofy for their own good.
Exactly. And that's when people ask me, is your music like Dream Theater? And say, no, it's the prog music that I'm making is, it has the structures that I really like a verse and a pre-chorus and a chorus. And then there is time and space for musical experiments, whatever. What I don't like about Dream Theater is like there is so much noodling going on around in the background, and that's not my kind of music anymore. It was different. If you listen to Awake, that's a perfect record.
Oh yeah! I mean, oh my God! Yeah. So see again, we're not just friends. We're gonna be best friends because
listen to the vocals on Change of Seasons. Man, that is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And the first time I heard it, where he sings season changed and so can I, hold a boy no time to, I was like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
And I still think that James Labrie, just to say that, I don't want to steal your time, but I still think when people are saying now James Labrie sucks now when he's singing live, James Labrie, and I have to make that clear once for all, James Labrie still is a fantastic singer.
Yep.
James Labrie is still playing, in the NBA finals. He's not getting the championship, but he's still in the finals. He's still among the top 10% singers you have out there. So I really can't understand why people are saying he doesn't sing good anymore. He does sing fantastic. He just does not sing super fantastic anymore, but he's still fantastic.
I agree. I love that you brought up Change of Seasons too, because even though I like Scenes from a Memory, I do. I don't like all of it. I certainly like, say, like the first 4 tracks on the record, and then it kind of loses me. And then Train of Thought. I'm not gonna lie, I like Train of Thought. I have to take that.
Absolutely.
I have to take that back because As I Am is a fantastic song.
If you rewind our video now for like 2 minutes, you will hear me trying to say and Train of Thoughts.
Yeah.
And try that.
Yes. And it's because what Train of Thought does for all of us old school Dream Theater fans is it takes us back to images and words.
Yeah.
They finally got that formula back for a brief moment, and I'm not sure why they drifted off, but I mean, they just went, they got way too out there, too noodly. And nowadays, I mean, look, I think Mike is a fantastic technical. I mean, he's a monster drummer, but it did lose the feel. It did. Yeah. It's too now. It's like robot precise. Where before it grooved. It does not groove, and I don't know. I'm sounding like a jerk right now, so I'm going to stop. But I want to say something about Change of Seasons. I know you know what part I'm talking about. The transition from I think it's the second chapter of the song. It's about the 10-minute mark that is happening, and James is singing over the top of it, just going and then it stops and it goes that riff. That is the coolest thing ever written by anybody. And they play it 4 times and then they stop, and I'm like, that's like that should be a song. It's such a killer groove.
Absolutely.
And, oh God, I mean, I got goosebumps just talking about it. But yeah, I agree with you, my friend.
And talking about groove.
Yes.
Mike Portnoy is so groovy on A Change of Season, and I think that's a production thing. I just bought the Awake demos and the Falling into Infinity demos. Oh. My God, Mike is so grooving on these records. And it got totally lost on the official releases because they were like, editing and cutting too much in the studio. It's just like the machines. And the demos are so fantastic. The drumming is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you that great people are great. I mean, great musicians are great musicians, and sometimes it gets cut out, produced out of the material. But and that's honestly, so I'll end this way because it's the truth. The reason I like Philosophobia so much is because you've done this is going to sound really weird. Radiohead was awesome until Kid A. In my opinion, they were awesome that first 7 years, and then they totally screwed it up, and they've been weird ever since. And every once in a while, there's a great song, but it's weird. Let's just admit it. It's weird. It's not very musical. It's just out there, and God bless them. Cool. Yeah. But they left a hole. And then Muse came along, and Muse said, "We're going to be the new Radiohead," and it pissed everybody off because they're like, "You sound like Radiohead," but they kept that vibe alive. Yeah. And then eventually they stopped sounding like Radiohead and sounded just like Muse, whatever Muse is. Yeah. What I love about Philosophobia is it does the same thing with Dream Theater. I'm telling you, it's true.
Oh man, no, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, it goes back to that era. It makes sense that we brought this up because it goes back to that era where they stopped being who they were, and you've taken the reins from that, and that is so fantastic because that's the best kind of music there is, and you've done it. And I'm so excited because I'm now know the guy who does it.
Oh, thank you so much. That's one of the best compliments I've ever gotten. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, let's stop it here because I can't praise you anymore.